for Beachmont on Winthrop Ave?
Yeah, with Joanne.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
It's tough to get anything done right now.
I know. Believe me, I know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Zambudo, you're on, buddy. Get us started.
Okay, good evening, everyone. This is the Monday, May 4th, 2020 edition of the Zoning Subcommittee. Madam Clerk.
Sure. So the first item on the, roll call of the subcommittee members, Councilor Janino.
I thought I saw a picture on the screen.
Yeah.
She is. She shut her. I'm muted. I'm here. I can see you guys. Can you see me? Yes. So Councilor Janino, are you here? I am here. Councilor Guanasso.
Arthur.
You can't hear you, Arthur. Unmute yourself.
Unmute myself.
He's on. Councilor Guanasso is unmuted. Councilor Guanasso is here. Councilor Morabito is absent. Councilor Visconti.
Here.
And Chairman Zambudo.
Here.
Here, quorum is present. First item on the agenda is an amendment to the zoning ordinances of the city of Revere relative to mechanical parking systems.
It is on mute somewhere. Where's the mic?
Who wants to go first? Frank? Bob? Who's up?
I think Frank is. He should be on the call. I think he doesn't have video, but he has audio. Frank, are you there?
Here I am. I'm here.
Okay, very good. Frank, why don't you kick it on?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We invited Patrick Flaherty from Park Plus Systems to make a presentation, a video presentation of a sample slide and puzzle system that we were talking about last week with this mechanical parking system. I don't know if Patrick is here.
Patrick is on the line, but he may be muted. Patrick, are you there?
He's muted.
There we go. Sounds like him coming in. Is that you, Patrick?
No, that was Stephen. Frank, we got a video from Ashley today. It showed us the whole system on how.
Okay, you received that. That's good.
Yeah.
So that's basically, in a nutshell, it's a slide and lift puzzle system where each vehicle can be accessed from grade level, and also you can bring your car into a grade level. There's always one open parking space for access and egress.
Hi, Patrick. We were calling for you, but
Anyway,
AJ, I'm sorry, and AJ with Part Plus is also here. I've just had problems getting in for some reason, but I'm here.
Okay, Patrick. I don't know if you can share your screen with the presentation, but the City Council did receive the specification for the system we're talking about out of your website.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. Again, this is AJ with Part Plus. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay, AJ.
So let me know if everybody can see it. You should see Part Plus there.
We got you. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, my name's AJ Jenkins. The company's Part Plus. We're headquartered out of New Jersey, Fairview, New Jersey, just across the GW. Offices in Boston, LA, Florida, Seattle, San Francisco. So we're a national firm and even an international firm doing work abroad. Been in here.
We lost him.
yeah, Patrick was calling in. He also lost his audio.
All right, so let's deal with it. We'll get through these technical difficulties here.
Okay.
Ashley, do you have any control of the screen that you can go to slide 2?
Yeah, well, I keep, for some reason, my call keeps dropping on you guys. I'm not sure why. All right, but anyway, slide 2, and again, this is just going to be a brief PowerPoint presentation. For all
What's happening here, Ash?
Can you see my screen?
We can
I see the screen here, but what's
Yep,
going
I
on?
can see the screen.
Okay, good. So it has to go through the BER approval process. It's 2 to 6 months. Steve Sampson and other board members are the ones that approve the design. And it's every single project, even if we've introduced the solution before, it's a project by project case analysis. What we're introducing is a semi-automated lift slide system. This is 2 high from ground level slab and then 1 level in the pit. So here you're seeing 2 levels. So from ground, 2 levels above, 1 in the pit. The pit is usually 7.2, 7.6. Clear height from slab is about 12 foot. And this is going to be a quick video of one particular solution. The 2 high, 1 deep. This is going to be animated. This is going to show you the mechanical maneuverability. And then the next slide is going to show you a live version of the same exact solution. So again, this is 2 above grade. It's a structural steel moment frame member. So it's all bolted together. What's raising the autos is basically a motor. It's either a motor and a chain or it's a motor and cable. In this case, being 2 high, 1 deep, it can be motor and a chain. So elevator. As the motor activates, it's winding the motor up and it's bringing your car up to second level. And or taking it down into the pit. So as a user, from 100, 150 feet away, you press a fob. That fob is going to activate your module. It's either going to bring your pallet up from ground, from pit, or down to ground from the second level. Or if your car is already on ground level, the gate just raises and you capture your pallet or capture your vehicle. So in other words, it's very user-friendly, accessible, independent access, no valets, no attendants. That's one of the biggest value adds of the system, is getting away from valets and attendants. Now this one's going to be a live version of that exact same system. We have many actually, fail and fall safes integrated into the system. There are overrun sensors, for example. If your car is too high, too wide, too long, it will not fit in the system and it will not operate. The system shuts down. Gates. You have front entry gates. In the front of that gate is an infrared beam that goes all the way across the module. If anything breaks the plane of that beam, it shuts the system down. If somebody would have entered to the system, it shuts the system down. We have a perimeter around the pallet that keeps any vehicles from pulling off the pallet or running over or pulling too far forward in the module. So in other words, there's several fail and fall safes integrated into our systems. It'll fit sedans, compacts, crossover SUVs, a car that's roughly 17 and a half feet long, which is many of your crossovers. Give you an idea. Range Rover Sports, for example. So it's made to fit about 98.7% of the vehicles on the road. We can make them fit Suburbans, Tahoes, and such, but for this particular property, we haven't gone that path just yet. Several items we can integrate. Also, EV charging. So if you have a EV percentage that you have to target, we have that capability to charge electric vehicles. And then just really quick in summary, again, the system is engineered for independent access. No valets, no attendants needed. Efficient retrieval times. By the time you hit your fob, gate to raise, 5 seconds. From level 2 to ground, 7 seconds. So 12 seconds to capture your vehicle. So if you're remote summon from 100, 150 feet away, by the time you walk or drive that 100, 150 feet, your car is already waiting on you, or your pallet's already waiting on you on ground level. So in other words, there's no retrieval time impacts to retrieval times. EV charging, again, we have that capability. The different size vehicles that we can fit, the fail and fall safes, front entry gates. We have the front laser at each entry gate. So if something crosses that line, I can do a site-specific smart app where you can summon your pallet from your smart app, or RFID readers. RFID readers, for example, is a small sticker in your windshield, and as you pull down your access aisle, the RFID reader will locate your vehicle and remote summon your module to operate. Overrun sensors, again, if you're too high, too wide, too long, the module will not operate. Gravity hooks, that's to prevent the upper pallet from ever collapsing on the lower pallet, which it is impossible for the upper level car to ever fall on the lower level car. Even if the user presses some wrong code, it is impossible for a car to lower onto another car. 24/7 remote access. In other words, the user or property manager, they have access to our facilities and our capabilities and techs 24/7, 365 days a year. We guarantee a 1-hour response time if there's a user error. If, for example, we had an alert last week. Somebody was pulled halfway on, halfway off. The gate wouldn't lower. It sends us an alert. We call the property. Is there a user error? They walked out. They found out that somebody was half on, half off. So that's user error. So again, it's changing a little bit of the habits of the user. Smartphones, laptops, that's all changed our behavior. It's the same thing here. It's changing small behaviors when parking. Pressing a fob to open the gate, you pull onto a pallet, you exit your vehicle, press the fob, lower the gate, you walk away. So all you're doing is changing behaviors by pressing a fob. CCTV capabilities, we do have the capabilities to monitor remote with CCTV. We are an approved installer in Massachusetts, 50 years experience, and we are the largest in our vertical and BER processes. Again, we have currently 7 projects in BER going through the approvals. And just in summary, I've gotten approvals in 2 months. I've had one in there now for 6 months. So it's a case-by-case analysis. That's why there's a long lead time with our particular industry. That's as much as I can think of. If anybody's got any questions, absolutely. I'll entertain those and answer to the best of my abilities.
If I can, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to emphasize that these systems not all require a pit. I know we have high water tables within the city, especially in our beachfront area, and it would be very difficult to have a system with a pit in it, especially during flooding events. So I'd like to emphasize that. And one other thing I'd like to add is we have to put in a condition here. I thought it was in there, and I thought I explained it last week, but I had it in a draft, and I didn't include it in the final. But these mechanical parking systems, they shall only be allowed within enclosed parking structures. So we don't want any of these systems outside, obviously, subject to the elements. They have to be enclosed parking structures. That's one condition that I would like to recommend that we add. And that's all I have right now.
Let me jump in here with a quick question before I turn it over to my colleagues. Is that when, Frank, when you say that we can't have a pit because of the water table, does that mean you have a third level? How does that square with Park Plus's video there? What do? You have a third height?
They have systems that don't require a pit. 2-level systems.
Correct.
You don't have to have a pit.
Correct. We can do systems 2 to 15 levels, and we can do a -1 or even a -2 pit, which are 2 levels below grade.
Wow.
It all depends on the property, the dynamics of water table, foundation, piles, grade beams, things of that nature all have impact.
Great. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say that this would be great for the developers that are coming into the city that don't have enough parking for their development. This would be a great use of that. So I know we've been in the past where they developers didn't have enough parking spaces. So this would be great for that. Thank you.
Any other committee members?
Ira.
I'm not a committee member, but I'll wait.
Oh,
Mr. Chairman.
Council President Keith.
I'll speak after Council Morabito, who's in the committee as well. Council Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it was mentioned that there's going to actually be so this parking automated system will actually be covered with a structure. What is the structure that's suggested that the automated system will be in? Like, what will be the material? Will it be like similar to a garage that you're putting it in, or just an open warehouse?
Well, it would be a garage structure. The garage, a typical garage structure you see with any development.
It's in red and I muted. Now this is mute.
So it could be 2-level structure, 3-level structure, even a 1-level structure. It's just the height of the structure of the roof has to be a little higher than a normal garage.
So let me get this right. Where obviously this parking automated system, it's more eco-friendly, it's safer, it's more secure in the sense of someone traversing through a garage at night, where there'll be a central waiting area, correct? When the car is released? Can you hear me?
Yes, I will defer that question to the Park Plus supplier. He's still on the screen.
Can you hear me? Will there be a central waiting area when someone retrieves their car?
This is Patrick with Park Plus. I don't know if AJ is still on. There is a queuing area depending on each property, and there's a 2-way drive aisle. AJ, if you can go back to the slide that shows the picture of the garage with parking system and without, that'll answer the clear height issue. There we go.
So I saw that picture, but my question still wasn't answered. Is there a waiting area to retrieve a car, or it's basically like an elevator, right? It rotates, it shifts up and down, correct?
It does. Cars traverse side to side and are vertically lifted or lowered into a pit level.
So where is there a waiting area? So for instance, I enter the building. How would I go upon getting my car? Where would the waiting area be?
Yeah, it's no different than the 2-way drive aisle in a garage for a new podium building where a 2-way drive aisle is created. You're pulling into those spaces or retrieving your car just like you would on surface parking without automation.
What other cities you have business in? Or
I'll let AJ address that. Maybe we lost AJ. AJ? Yeah, maybe he's got I had an audio issue earlier. If the question is what other cities do we have these systems?
Yes, that's the question.
There's not too many major cities in the U.S. we don't have these systems. Los Angeles, San Francisco, Florida, Miami, Lauderdale, Chicago, New York, New Jersey, Capital Region, Virginia, Maryland.
So most of them are set up this way with a structure over it. Do you have any standalone units that you usually do? Or
we do.
They're all.
We do. So this structure can be adapted for an exterior application. You know, I heard mentioning putting an automated lift system outside a building. It can be accomplished to actually look like a parking structure in terms of architecting it by skinning it and roofing it. So the structure itself that the parking system is built from is adapted with clip systems for skinning and roofing.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, what I'm getting at is everyone in the city, residents, they're so tired of buildings. Like, so we're going to build a structure to put this automated parking system in, but it could do without a structure. Is it less maintenance if it's within if it has an exterior structure?
Stephen, it might be helpful to clarify. This is Bob O'Brien. I'm sorry I didn't have audio up until now. The expectation is, first of all, that there will not be anything outside allowed by this zoning, but that this would be a use that would be within a parking garage that would occur in our normal residential and commercial structures anyway. So we're not talking about a freestanding parking facility, say, for commuters. This would be for residents or office users within buildings in the garage that would be constructed in any event.
How many more spaces can you get with an automated parking system versus if that structure remained a parking garage?
That's the shell that's holding it. The answer to that question is it's configuration dependent. So in a two-level system or a three, like this picture is illustrating, you can double or near triple the parking capacity, and that in itself is really the addressable market in the U.S. in urban new construction, multifamily residential, mixed-use buildings that are built with a lower podium application for parking to have a 12 to 18 foot clear height, 12 foot for a two-level system, 18 foot for a three-level system, so that the parking isn't outside. You're meeting or exceeding LEED's initiative that are so common today. And LEED Silver, Gold, or Platinum can be achieved by architects by having parking not exterior, so more green space, integrating it to a new podium building. Without automated parking is pretty common, but with automated parking, the density is greater. The big thing for developers is there's a return on square footage advantage, so that there's amenity space, more square footage for retail, et cetera, at grade by putting these systems in.
And if you, Stephen, for example, were to put 3 levels of parking on one level of the garage, you eliminate all of the circulation to get from one level to another.
Right.
You may know that certain of our buildings have more than one level of parking. This, you could design the garage with additional height on a single level and put the equivalent of 2 or 3 levels into one space, which eliminates the circulation space and is much more efficient use.
That's more logical. I was just wondering why are we going to have a shell over this structure if it could be a standalone? But that makes perfect sense. So,
Bob's exactly right. There's so many use cases that they're all different, each in their own. Eliminating concrete, eliminating cost from development. Unnecessary ramping and things of that nature. It just makes a cleaner exterior property when an integrated parking system is developed. And so architects are provided a design tool. There's AIA, continuing education credits around these systems in terms of high density automated solutions. So they vary from, you can imagine, as AJ mentioned, 2-level to 15-level, a -1 or a -2 configuration. And that's just this puzzle product. There's fully automated systems that are, yet again, a different part of the portfolio. Those are, more of a high-end amenity property, single car loading cabin garages. They look like a garage where you enter, park in the garage, exit your vehicle, and the system is conveyed into a storage spot. And that's a different kind of system. But there's definitely a renaissance of these systems happening, and it's about cost savings for developers and meeting the zoning requirements for parking in a lot of cases where they couldn't use a property to fit the number of spaces required, and with high density parking you can.
Okay, I hate to interrupt you, but I got to speed this up a little. We're not going to have enough time to.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Guanasso.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. My only question is, and I'm very concerned about it, is wait time when a driver reaches the facility, tries to access his car, it's a malfunction, and they have to wait. And then they say that they have to wait for a couple of hours. What do they do to alleviate that problem?
This is Patrick again. There's a couple of things that address that. Most all systems are designed with fail-safes in place, meaning redundant electric motors. But more than that, they're built in groups, meaning multiple groups. So an example would be a property that has 50, 60 automated spaces. The typical configuration for 60 spaces of automated would be 3 to 4 independently operated groups. So if one group had a malfunction, the other groups are still independent and autonomous and are operating. So the second part of that is there's a one out. This is like an elevator. These are high performance systems. They're electric motor driven. There's multiple electric motors for backup and redundancy. And there's 1 hour emergency response. So technicians are en route. There's also remote monitoring, which is a future release so that the service center sees a ticket opened automatically for an error code that spits out of the processor control, the CPU essentially, so they can remote in and clear it.
Not to interrupt you, sir, but a couple of months ago, I saw on TV an incident in New York where people were waiting 3-4 weeks for their car. What do you do in that event?
Yeah, I've never seen a system. I'm not sure I understand the question. These are workhorse systems. These are like an elevator, meaning those electric motors are a mean time to failure engineered rating of 25 to 28 years. I mean, these are high performance electric motors that run elevators that are in high rise buildings. So they're meant to work. Now, I think the question would be if there's a commercial power failure and the system is electric motor driven, what do you do then? So if it's a large property, it's highly advantageous to have a standby generator, a generator that could be in the building for multiple uses or purposes, so that the amperage required for the automated system can be provided. So if you had an 8K or 10 kW generator, you may bump it up a little bit to handle the electrical requirements for the automated system. But I've never seen, there's service analytics of these systems. There's no failures in terms of waiting weeks.
So what I was watching on TV wasn't true and it never happened. Okay, thank you.
Councilor Bonasso, I think I can answer that. I mean, the ordinance that you have before you, we've included measures that the owners of the property and the suppliers have to take to provide alternate transportation in case a system, in the event the system is unable to be accessed
by the residents.
Okay, Frank,
Part of their performance and operation agreement that they'll have to file with the city of Revere, they're going to have a procedure in place where alternate transportation has to be provided, whether it be by zip card or Uber or any other means of transportation.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
Councilor Granasso, I might also mention these systems are increasingly popular in Boston, including Mass General. Mass General has, I think, a Park Plus system in one of their.
Now you're hitting into my heart, Bob.
I know that.
Madam Clerk, did you want to speak? Madam
Councilor Zambuto, Councilor Powers would like to speak. He had his hand raised. I didn't know if he noticed it.
I got Ira before him. And then,
okay.
Okay. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. Councilman Granasso kind of spearheaded a question about delays and non-user problems, and I kind of feel comfortable with that. But I just want to tack on to what Council Morabito was leading up to, that this structure, which I love the video, and it's exactly what I thought it was, that it goes inside a new structure or an old structure, and they make the structure with steel beams all around it. And this is built inside that inside structure of an apartment building. And as far as a waiting area is concerned, that's up to the designer of the building to build one in case it's cold and people want to wait for their cars to come. They would have to put a little waiting room or something near the area and build it accordingly. So I like it, and I think it'll work. The only other question I had to the gentleman is, what about the salt air in Revere? How would it react, and how long would it last from there?
Yeah, it's a good question. Structurally, these are hot dip galvanized steel. The components that are, wear items would be electric. Actually, items that are not galvanized are the chain sprocket, but that's a lubricated, greased, sprocket when it's on close to the ocean. I mean, there's a couple of systems that are in design in Massachusetts on the coast that are under contract, not yet installed. Miami, same thing. Galvanized steel is the answer, as well as the pallet tray that the car drives on. Those are hot dip galvanized because the corrosion from salt off a car is, more damaging than salt air, right? And the other thing, under these trays, there's a U-channel built in, so it kind of serves as a gutter, so that if a car above is melting snow or ice or salt, it's collected in this U-channel on the bottom of the tray pallet, so that it carries it off to the back. And with a proper garage design, it's got drainage in it. You're mitigating anything from dropping or landing on the car below you.
Thank you very much.
This is AJ again. Can y'all hear me this time?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I apologize once again. I don't know why, but I'm having audio problems. Not sure why, but anyway, I'm back.
Okay, great. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question that I'd like answered. I'm looking at the notes received from the city clerk on our agenda. It indicates that this would be allowed in the RC1 and the RC2 district. And the RC1 and RC2 district run all the way from the Lasden, what is formerly known as the Lasden property next to Beach House, all of the way up to Revere Street, at least, and perhaps even more. So my question is, let's assume that someone could build a six-family home, six units rather, down in the RC1, RC2 district. And they had the adequate parking for six. Would then this allow them to building a little, put another level and include 6 more units, bringing the total density to 12 units. So that's my question. Is there anyone that could answer that for me? Frank?
Yes, I could answer that. Well, obviously, there's an economic financial factor in building these because they're very expensive. So I don't think a 12-unit building could support the economics of one of these systems. But I know what the council is getting at. I mean, it would allow a developer to meet the parking requirements of that district by adding these systems. If they say they wanted to build a 40 or 50 unit development where you have tight area, and as it was mentioned earlier, that gives more amenity space for the development, and it's all around. It's beneficial to the city. It allows these developers to meet our parking requirement without having to go before the ZBA. Now we have an option for them to meet that requirement, whereas before we didn't. And the only option was the ZBA.
And also to increase the density. Am I correct?
Councilor Powers, this is Bob O'Brien. This will have no impact on FAR, setbacks, height, density. Any of the other requirements of zoning are completely unchanged by the ability to use this kind of system. It will allow projects that might not otherwise be able to because of groundwater or whatever to meet the zoning requirements for parking, but it doesn't change the density allowance by zoning in any way whatsoever.
Well, I do have some concerns because I know there are several small lots down on the boulevard that can be joined together, and we could have maybe not having 8 units down there, having 16 units, and just impacting America's public beach a little further. Thank you.
If I may, one of the value adds of semi-automated and automated parking, to give you a couple of metrics. Above grade superstructures are typically 350 square feet per space using conventional surface-based methods. When you do semi-automated, that metric drops to 200 to 220 square feet per space. When doing fully automated, that metric drops even lower to 160 to 180 square feet per space. So half the footprint, in other words. So again, that's just one of the many value adds.
AJ, I would, however, note that this zoning requires conformity with the existing dimensional requirements for parking. So I'm not sure in this particular case, under the proposed zoning, and Frank can correct me if I'm wrong, that you necessarily have all of those savings because all of the spaces need to conform to the existing dimensional requirements for parking. Frank, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And also the requirement for handicap parking spaces must be met.
Okay, we've run out of time here on this meeting. Councilor Connittee, did you have something real quick you wanted to talk about? Or?
I did quick. And I don't know if this is directed to Bob or Frank. In the zoning, most of the cars that you're seeing on this on these lifts are compact, maybe full size vehicles. Are we going to have? Is there an ordinance that all vehicles, all large SUVs, can handle it? I know you said it handles about 98% of the vehicle, but I would hate to have it limited to just exclude large SUVs, since that's common in this area. So, and the other question I have maybe to AJ is, can you have 2 cars actually taken out at the same time? Can you have them done at the same time, moving at the same time while they wait?
Yes, you can. in this case, we had several modules, and a module is typically 3 bays wide. In this case, 3 bays wide, 2 levels high. So in that one module, only one person can capture their car. So that's why we break the modules up and create blocks. The more blocks we create, the higher the throughput we can manage. So in other words, wait time, throughput issues are never a concern. Have never been a concern because again, you're only 10 to 12 seconds to capture a vehicle. So in the remote instance where you have 2 people click the fob within seconds of one another, that second user only has to wait 10, 12 seconds. That's it. Okay. But yes, we can retrieve multiple cars at a time.
Thank you. Councilor Visconti, I would just also mention that the use of mechanical parking does not mean that every space necessarily has to be part of the system. It could well be that oversized vehicles, handicap spaces, etc., will still be provided at grade as they are now.
That's correct.
Okay, I'm going to step in here for a second. We have a couple of choices. I'm going to leave it up to the committee. Do we want to vote this out this evening, or do we want to hold it over? That's for committee members.
I make a motion to vote it out tonight.
Okay, everybody else, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so, and I'll vote yes. Okay, so we're going to vote this favorably to the full city council, and I believe we're going to have to hold the second item over. Madam Clerk?
Yes, Councilor Zambudo, there was just that one amendment that the city planner, Frank Stringy, had offered, and that was that mechanical systems may only be allowed within the interior of a parking garage structure, and that needs to be added in according to
right. Okay, so we're voting this out favorably with the amendment, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, and that's going to conclude the zoning subcommittee for this evening. We'll have to hold the second item over since we're 15 minutes into the next meeting here, and I apologize for that. But I think we've got all our questions in, and I just would say that if this was available to the buildings on Ocean Ave, you wouldn't have had all the variances that were needed.
Right.
Correct.
All righty, that's it for me. That concludes the zoning subcommittee for May 4th, 2020. Thank you all.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thanks, guys.
Committee on Public Safety. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss several current events that have come up. First, we'll start with the roll call of the committee members.
Roll call of the committee members. Councilor Guanasso.
Here.
Here. Councilor Powers. Councilor Powers is present.
Present.
Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Sereno.
Here.
Here. Councilor Keith.
Here.
Here. And Chairwoman Janino.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. There is one item on the agenda this afternoon. In accordance with the open meeting law, executive session purpose number 4, to discuss the deployment of security personnel or devices or strategies with respect thereto, that the City Council Subcommittee on Public Safety meet in executive session to discuss the safety protocol measures being taken to protect our firefighters and police officers as they relate to COVID-19. Further, that the Mayor, Fire Chief Bright, and Police Chief Guido be invited to participate in this executive session.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I want to start by thanking the Mayor.